In the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious and merciful, may peace be on all. So, today I'll be starting with another subtopic of communication research known as the research design. So, when we talk of research designing or designing the research, is done before starting your research. Research designing is actually the pre set of things you do before starting your research or before starting specifically your communication research or research in communication. When we talk of research design, it is actually a set of rules, regulations, strategy, planning, which a person, which a researcher, which a communication researcher takes on before proceeding towards its final research. Here in the research design, a communication researcher or a researcher, he just asks questions to himself or herself. For example, the 5 W's and one H. He asks himself or herself these questions like, why am I doing this research? Where I am doing this research? How I am going to do this research? On what topic I am going to do research? At what time I am going to research. That means when I am going to do this research. So on whom I am going to do this research, or who will be my sources, or from where I will get the information, and how will I find answers to the questions of my research. And accordingly, a research design is planned accordingly, keeping in mind all these elements, all these factors, as well as the final product, the final result. The final result should be in sync with what a person actually tries to find out. Should be in sync with actually what a researcher, a communication researcher, tries to find out in his or her research. All those strategies, all those plannings, all those executions is before starting your research is known as research design, or it's actually a blueprint of your research, and it's actually a master plan or a plan which you keep in mind, which you design in your mind actually, as well as you can then write it down, all the things beforehand before proceeding for your final research. In short, we can say that research designing is your planning and your strategy for doing your research, and this planning and this strategy will help you get the desired result. The importance of research designing is that it actually makes your way easier during your research. It helps you actually point wise, what should be my first point in my research, what should be my second point in my research, and what should be my third point in my research. So it gives you a way, a path, so that you can easily go on through your research and then find the desired result, and or find the answer to your research questions. The research design also allows you to find out what kind of tools you are going to use in your research, and what kind of research are you going to do. Should it be a scientific research, should it be a non-scientific research, and what are the tools and what are the techniques, and what are the different samples or sampling designs you are going to use in your research or during your research. Also, in your research design, you also think about questions like, should I go for an quantitative way of doing research or a qualitative way of doing research. But especially when we talk of communication research, most of the communication research are based on qualitative way, as communication, which I have already told you, is a social science subject. So preferably communication researchers, communication scientists, social scientists go for a qualitative way of doing research. Also today I also want to touch about what are the objectives of research. The main objective of research is to get, or is to find something new, is to find some new knowledge, is to find some new information which was earlier not present in the society, which was earlier not known to the society. Another objective of research is, or communication research, is that we can then develop our new hypothesis, or we can then develop our new theories. If we find something new, if we find something new information, if we get a new result of our research, then we can definitely give our own hypothesis. And then if the hypothesis is finally proven, then we can give our own theories, we can generalize our research, we can generalize the results of our research. Another objective of the research is that it gives us a relationship between different elements and different variables which we have used in our research. So for example, one variable is reading and another variable is knowledge. So if we are doing a communication research on journalists who read, and then we try to find out that the journalists who read more are more knowledgeable. It means that one variable in this research is reading and another variable in this research is knowledge. For example, if we are doing a research on journalists who read more, and we try to find out are they more knowledgeable or not, then we can have one variable as reading and another variable we can have as knowledge. So for example, if we then find out that the journalists, that the media persons who or media students who read a lot are more knowledgeable, so it means that these variables are related to each other, and these can be directly related to each other. For example, if we find out that the media students or journalists or media persons who read a lot have more knowledge, so as the reading increases, so the knowledge increases. So they are related to each other. These two are variables, and these two variables are related to each other. And it's not always true that for example, if one variable remains constant and the other variable also remains constant, it's not only true. It all depends on the results. It all depends on the way you are doing your research and your findings. There are two more things when we talk of research or communication research, that is hypothesis and theory. What is hypothesis and what is theory? So hypothesis is your own tentative, your own proposed answer to your research question, to the problem on which you are doing research, to the question on which you are doing research, or to the topic on which you are doing research. You have a tentative answer for that research, you have a proposed answer for that research, and that thing is known as hypothesis. You get an idea that this might be the result of your research, and that is your hypothesis. So this hypothesis is not proven yet, but it's your idea, it's your tentative idea, it's your tentative or proposed answer to the research you are going to do. And theory is which is actually proven, which is the final end result. On that final finding, you give a theory, and then the theory is a proven thing. The theory is something which is already proven, the theory is something which is already proved and which is already based on a research finding. That's known as theory. Another topic which I want to touch today is the tools of data collection. So when we talk of the tools of data collection, the first thing that comes in our mind is interview. So interviewing is one of the important tools of collecting data. You talk to your sources, you interview your sources, and then you ask them questions, and then you get the answers, you get the replies, and then accordingly you proceed towards your research. You just write down those answers, you just collect those answers, and then these are used for your research. There are two types of interviews: structured interviews and unstructured interviews. When we talk of structured interviews, it means that before going for the interview of your source, you write down the questions. You write down, for example, 5-6 questions or 10 questions related to your research topic, and then you directly go to your source, to the one whom you are going to interview, and then you ask the questions one by one to him or her, and then you get the answers. Another interview is unstructured interview. You go and talk to you interview your source, and then you ask him the first question, and then based on that first question, and then based on the answer which he or she gives to your first question, then you can ask him or her the next question. And actually this unstructured interview many a times becomes like a conversation between the two. So you can ask your source questions, and then even your source can reply with a question, or definitely he will reply with the answer, but many a times in the unstructured interviews the source can also question you back, and then you will accordingly reply to that, and then it becomes like a conversation. And then in the conversation you actually can try to find out his or her opinion regarding your research topic. Another tool of data collection is questionnaire. Also, here I want to add that the interviews are done by those researchers whose sources are very less. For example, there are 5 6 sources, or whose sample is very small. There are 7 8 people, maximum 10 people, whom he or she can interview and then gather information from his or her sources. But when we talk of questionnaire, the questionnaires are used by those researchers who have a large size of sources, who have a large sample size, who have to cover a large population, as demanded by their research. For example, they have to talk to thousands of people, so it will not be easy for them to physically go and ask do interviews for 1,000 people. So what they do is that they mail them questionnaires. For example, when we talk of questionnaires, it's a set of questions written on a paper. And when we talk of mails, you can then forward them the soft copy of that via mail or via social media or via WhatsApp today. Then you can collect the information, collect the answers of those questionnaires, and then you can collect the information from your sources. So this is a questionnaire. The interview is used for the interview data collection tool is used when the sample size or when the sources are less. But the questionnaire is mostly used when you have to talk, when you have to get information from a large population. So another tool of data collection is survey. Survey is mostly done by organizations, be it private organizations, be it NGOs, or be it government departments. Surveys are also done regarding to take opinion of people regarding various laws, regarding various bills which are introduced by the government, which are introduced in the society. So surveys are done just to check out the opinion of the people vis-a-vis these laws, regarding these regulations which are present in the society, or which have been now added in the administration. There we use this survey kind of data collection tool. Also in the surveys, a group of researchers go and then they choose a specific population, they talk to them, and they actually try to find out their feelings, their opinions regarding that step taken by the government, or regarding that law, or regarding that bill which has been introduced by the government. During survey research, or survey as a tool of data collection, we can also do survey face to face by asking interviews, and we can also do survey by sending questionnaires. A survey tool of data collection can also be done physically, by physically approaching the population of whom we have to take the opinion, or we can directly make a questionnaire and then mail them to our sources. But it all depends on the population from which we have to take the opinion. If the population is literate enough that they are using social media, that they are using internet, then we can definitely use questionnaire. Or if we feel that the population is not literate enough, or they don't use the internet, we can then directly talk to them and then ask them about their opinions, their feelings, their thoughts regarding different things happening in the society, or regarding different or new laws which have been introduced in the society. Another tool of data collection is sampling. For example, if you have a population of 10,000 and you are not able to you physically cater to that population, so what you do is that you choose a sample of 100 people from the population of 10,000, and that 100, but the thing is that the 100 people should have all the characteristics of which are similar to the whole population, and then you choose out those 100 people, and then you ask them questions, you talk to them, or you give them questionnaires, and then you take information from them, and then you generalize the results to the whole population. And there are different types of sampling. For example, one is random sampling. Random sampling is that you, among the population of 10,000, you just pick up 100 people. You don't specify age, you don't specify gender, etc. Another thing is systematic sampling. In the systematic sampling, what you do is, if you are choosing 100 people from a population size of 10,000, you will choose it on the basis of gender, on the basis of age, on the basis of literacy. So that is systematic sampling. Another sampling is cluster sampling. For example, if in my state I have 100 colleges, but it's not possible for me to do research on each and every college. So what I do is that I choose 5 colleges from these 100 colleges, and I do the research on those 5 colleges, and then I generalize the result. Because I generalize the result on the basis that the on the basis that all the colleges have the same syllabus, all the colleges teach the same subjects, all the colleges have the students in the same age group, the teachers in all the colleges are well qualified. So then that's why, based on all these factors, which are almost 90% same among all those 100 colleges, so based on those factors, whatever the result findings will be of these 5 colleges, which I use as a cluster, I can generalize my research findings to all those 100 colleges. That's known as these 5 colleges which I select among the 100 colleges is my cluster sample. Another thing which I want to talk here today is the ethics, the research ethics. Whenever you are doing research, you always have to keep in mind some of the ethics while doing your research. For example, the first and the basic ethic of doing research, of doing any research in any field, especially when I talk of communication research or media research, is that you have to keep your research confidential. Till the time the final result is out, you have to keep your research confidential. You not only have to keep your research written in confidential, but you have to keep your research sources, you have to keep your sources confidential. Also, another important research ethic is that it's in your research, your sources should have a voluntary participation. It's not that you will pressurize someone to act, to give you information, to be your source. It should not be that you pressurize someone, or you give him or her some monetary benefits on the basis of that he or she will give you information. It should not be like that. Another important research ethics is that your source should not be bound to be your source for years or for months. He or she can withdraw from your research anytime, and you should not pressurize him or her not to withdraw. Also, anyone who participates or as a source or helps you out in your research, due to your research, no harm should happen to him. Another topic which I'm going to touch today is how to write your thesis when you are doing a research, when you are compiling your research. One of the problems today nowadays is that a person who is doing a research, he just assigns the writing part of it or the typing part of it to someone who just writes it down. But it's always better as a researcher that if you are doing the research, you should be the person who should type it down, who should write it down, because you are actually on the forefront. You are directly talking to the sources, you are directly doing the research in the field, on the field. So no one can be a better person to write your research down. So whenever you are doing your research, you should write it down yourself, or you should type it down yourself, because you will also get to know, because you are the one who actually knows what he or she is writing, and is it actually the thing which I am finding out in the field. So when we talk of thesis writing, the first thing that comes when we start writing our thesis is our title. What is our title? On what title is our research based? And after the title comes the abstract. Then after the title comes the abstract, and then the literature review. Whatever the literature you have reviewed, you will write about that. You will talk about that. And then another point which comes in thesis writing is the method which you used while doing your research. And then comes your result, and then your references, your appendix, whatever. Then it all comes later. There's one more tool which the researchers have nowadays started using, that is the rating scale. For example, if you have been, you might have definitely brought some things from the online stores, and then after you buy the product, the online stores ask you regarding the rating. For example, there is a rating of 5 stars, so you will choose if the product is very nice, or if the service is very nice, you will definitely click as 5 stars. You will give it a 5 star rating, or you will give it a 4 star rating. And if you find the product is not good, the service is not good, you will give 1 or 2 stars. So when many a times, for example, if a researcher have to ask a population regarding any issue, he or she many a times nowadays use this rating scale. For example, there's a rating between 1 to 10, and then I am going to ask a question to my source, that what do you feel about this, about the introduction of this bill, or about this step taken by the government. Then he or she then says, among the scale of 10, among scale from 1 to 10, I will write 9. So it means that he is happy with that decision. So this is another tool which many of the researchers are nowadays using as a tool for data collection. Many researchers also say that assessment or analysis is also a part of data collection, is also a tool of data collection. So I cannot say, I don't say that it is actually a part. It comes after the tools of data collection. You then, after collecting your data, you analyze, you assess your research findings, you analyze your data, and then as per your analysis, you assess the data, and then you then proceed towards the final result. Another topic which I want to touch today is the process of research, the research process. For example, the research process from point 1 to point 10. So first so what is the first step, what is the second step, what is the third step, and so on. So the first step of the research process is the formulation of the research proposal. The first step is your question which you have in mind, the problem which you have in mind, on the problem on which you are going to do your research. That is the first step. What is the problem, what is the question, what is the proposal, what is the title on which you are going to do your research. So this is the first step. Another point is the review of literature, or literature review. That means that you just check out the previous studies done on the subject, or done on the related subject. You even check out the journals, you even check out the magazines, you even check out the books, you even check out the newspapers, for finding out for checking out what are the findings of the research which is related to your topic on which you are going to do research. So that's your literature review, and that is the second step in the process of research. Literature review is also the earlier studies done on related topics. And then the third step of the research process is development of hypothesis or developing hypothesis. Hypothesis, which I've already told you, it is your tentative or proposed answer, proposed result to your own research. So you develop a hypothesis, you think that this may be the result, this may be the answer to your research finding. This is the third step when we talk of research process. So development of hypothesis is the third step in the research process. So the fourth step in the research process is research design. Research design, as I have talked to you in this very as I have already told you about research design, is that you are research design simply means your plan, your structure, your strategy, which you are going to use throughout your research to find the desired result. So for example, if for example, in your research design, if you have written that you are using a scientific way of doing research, obviously then you will definitely go for experimental way of doing research. And if you have written in your research design that I am going for a social science research, then definitely you will go for observing, survey, etc. So this is another step in the research process. After the research design comes data collection. You collect data, you use different tools of collecting data, be it interviews, be it questionnaires, be it survey, be it sampling, be it rating scales, or and then and after all this after this step of data collection, then you move to another step that is known as analysis or assessment of data. After you collect the data, you then analyze the data, you then assess the data, and then you form a conclusion that this might be the result. And then finally the last step is that finally you write down your result. Finally you write down your result, which is your final which is the answer to your research question. That is the final step of the research process, and this result is the actual answer which you are going to tell to the world, which you are going to tell to the person under whom you are doing the research, or to the organization in which you are doing the research. So these were some of the topics which I talked to you about. These were some of the subtopics of communication research which I talked to you about. Thank you.